Greetings, dear friends. Let's continue working. We need to implement the footer block. Note that this block includes calls to other blocks. In our case, it's a call to the accordion. And we can also create this left part using already existing blocks, such as the logo and a simple paragraph. Therefore, in this lesson, we will not work specifically with the footer block, but with the accordion block. That is, we are creating such an option because notice this style is used here and on other pages. It is also present with us. For example, here, yes. So we will first implement the block for the section effect. When we can ask questions and get answers, we move to our editor. Don't forget to first merge the branch of the previous block with the main branch. Then create a new branch. I have done this and I'm now technically on the new branch block FIQ. Next, we go to the plugins, to the Game Store block, the SRC folder, and let's create for ourselves a copy, a starter template for the new block. I suggest using the call to action from the previous lesson since it is static. And this block will also be static. Therefore, I press Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V and start customizing this catalog. First, we'll change the name. I set the block to figure and move to the JSON block. So in the JSON block, I accidentally opened the wrong JSON block. So here, in the JSON block, we pass FAQ as the ID. So as the title, FAQ, with an istis at the end. And regarding the attributes, let's look at our block. So it has a title and it has a list of questions with answers. We'll make a general block together with the title. We'll just make a check that if the title is not set, then we won't have the upper part. And we can use this same block in the footer or in other places. Therefore, for the title, I use the key title, but I will store it by the selector of this tune title description. We will have an array in which we will store these effects. Therefore, we can rename this links to effect, and it will be like an empty array. We have nothing inside, nothing. Regarding the files, everything is okay. The only thing that we have is a block that contains dynamics, meaning dynamics from the perspective of the wood clip. It will have an event and it will open on click. Therefore, I suggest adding a file in JS here. And we will put this into that file, a JavaScript handler, a couple of lines to make it open, and we need to load this JS. Let's take it from the block JS. And basically just load it here. Wonderful. Let's move on somewhere. Let's first clear the internal files, those two, from styles. So we will have a block. By default, we set the margins, but remember, we don't have them in the footer. Therefore, we will probably also create an option to disable these margins. So as not to forget, I will add such a class there. And reset it now. Like this, and now let's go to edit.js. In edit.js, we import, use block props, rich text, inspector control, media placeholder. We don't need it, so we remove it then. From the components text control, we will need it. We can also use text area control for answering the question so that we have a larger field. Next, we have a link repeater, which we used in the previous lesson. In principle, you can leave it and just edit it. Change the fields, do whatever is convenient for you. That is, if you want to use the approach from the previous lesson as maybe a homework assignment, edit the fields of this component and try to use it. But I will be creating another component from scratch. Next, in edit, we need a title. We don't have a description. We have a focus, an empty array, and more. We have nothing here. We don't have this here yet either. But regarding the fields in the sidebar, we will have a separate section. Efficiency is not a title. Next, the description doesn't have media. There's nothing in the placeholder, so we also remove everything unnecessary. Essentially, just the title for now. Later, we might still add taggle in order to remove the margins. And here, manage. This is an excuse. We will call a new component by the body. In the body, we have no more. There is no full width image, so we remove everything we pass to use BlockProst. And for the container, there will be an inner wrapper and an inner FAQ center. In it, there will be one title using rich text. In this title, we connect by the key FAQ's title. There will be nothing else here. Remove it. Remove everything entirely, because we will now write new code for the loop moving up. Let's create this component so that we can add these effects. We'll have this. This component will return to the next layout. Let's use fake item as a class. Inside we will have text control for the question and texture control for the answer. In addition, we will also need a button to be able to delete specific questions from the list. Therefore, we will call love. This loaf will have the following classes. Component button. From secondary. On click, we will call on remove, passing the index. And this component is not self-closing, but rather this kind of component. I will also pass it encore and repair item. Okay. We created the component. Next, let's move here. And I'll remove this from here. Will use a state. We refer to the attribute. Let's connect it. In the opposite case, the comma can be removed. I will need handlers. to add. Title, description, we use these keys. Title, description, we won't get confused. Now we need a handler for changing separately, title changes separately. Description, in our case it's a question answer. We use autocomplete. The same goes for the description. And lastly, we need it for deletion. Like this wonderful. Next, we go down to the panel body. And since we have few settings here, we can use just one panel body. We delete this one. We can write here. Let's go through our variable in a loop. We will call our component here fact. Item means by parameters key index, index of the item. We passed the items. He gives yes change. He understands everything perfectly with auto-completion. So we have too many closing ones here. And we will need a button here, which will add a new section with new items and call add fact. So, okay then, perhaps, what don't you like here from primary? It got outdated. Then, last name, we will write from primary. Also the component with the button. On click, we call the FFQ handler. Everything is indeed great. We go further down. Furthermore, we need the body in our layout. So let's go through our variable fx again. Looping. I suggest creating a container here with the class effect item. In this effect item, we have auto-completion. It just calls HTML tags. I suggest using this speech text component as we will be able to edit directly on the page. Let's go with it. Let's add then the speech text component will be, this is a simple div. And there is a title. So either we will already go from key to key title, and on change we have a new title. But not with these guys. We call our handler, which we just created here. And we pass it. New title and the current index. The same goes for the description. Let's move this here. The same, rich text. All right, here we have a missing bracket. Overall, everything is ready in edit.js. We have a component that inserts these fields. We have handlers that change the value and add or remove a field. And in the layout itself, we use rich text, and we can directly click on it and edit it for convenience added. So we used it here, and it will need to be loaded. Then we write them a port, and it gets tired from elements. Let's now implement the site. Jess, go to the site Jess. So we are interested in and blockprof speech text bomb. Unload. We only have 2 variables, and the block props is empty. We don't pass anything. Inside there will be a component. So instead of, I don't remember, I set and indeed our yes. Let me remove all this from here and copy it from here. Next, we remember that we convert rich text into content. And on change, we won't have it anywhere here. All right, save.js is also ready. We just need to register this block. So let's move to PHP. This is a static block, so it registers without a pullback. Next, we need to run the compiler. So let's first go to the plugin directory. And run the compiler. Great, the compiler has compiled the new files. Then we'll go to the site and edit the main page. Add a new block. Add the data for it. We add a new section. Note that we will need to add some margin in the style. So let's go to our block. In Edit. To this class, though I don't see it here. Ah, here. It is this class. It's giving me a detailed error message that I cannot seem to resolve. Here it is. We need to reload the page again. Let's add a block. We already have the margin. But it still doesn't want to work. Let's do it here. No, still keys error. Let's take a closer look. So we'll here. Why is the index in the first position? Here, I generated it incorrectly. Here, the value comes first, and the index as the second parameter. The same goes here. First we pass this value and the second set parameter, the index. Okay, now I'll save this block so I don't have to add it again. Refresh the page. And scroll down to this block. And yes, now it works wonderfully. So I copy further the content and add it. So we have this link. So here I am, and like this, I can mark it as a link, and it gets marked as a link, while here it will be like HTML. By the way, let's save it. Check here. I don't trust HTML. It should change dynamically. So our link disappears. It turns out the rich text component does not change the value. Here, our rich text components do not change, because I need to pass this value like this. Once again, I will set the link. The link is there. And now it is present here as well. That is, HTML appears due to an error in the code. I added the link through the rich text component, but this rich text component could not edit the variable's value. And after reloading, the initial value of the variable, which was inserted into this field, was loaded. Let's save it now and check. Now it should definitely work, because here already this link tag is visible. Here it is. The link works wonderfully. Let's add something new, delete it. It also works perfectly. Let's add a few questions. Let's save this value and go to the main page to refresh. Wonderful, here we get our content. Next, we need to add an option to reset this marker because it overlaps our block. Is applied. You see the margin, but we don't need it in certain places. So let's add the appropriate setting in the admin panel. For this, we will load toggle control from all the components. Next, we need to create a variable for it. For this value, here, we will name it margin. Let's go to the GSO block and create this margin. So it will have a type Boolean. And by default, it will be disabled because by default, let it be with margins. This is a block sort of for content, and in rare cases, we will use it in the footer. Logically, it will be correct by default, this margin. This toggle, as it were, will be disabled. Let's go back to edit. Let's go to the sidebar. And for example, after the title, we will display this and label. We will have margin 0. Checked. We pass the margin, meaning if the margin is true, then this toggle will be set to enabled. If it's false, then it will be set to disabled. When it changes, on change, we pass the margin and change the value of the margin variable. So here the parameter is omitted. Next, we need to check this variable and add a class. So here in the props block, we will add last name. But we will use, by the way, autocomplete. And we check if it is true. Yes, it means the margin needs to be updated. We will show the class, but the boy we added right here with the update. Otherwise, we do not add this class, bus, and this same code should also be present on the front end. So we add it here as well. And update, we made a mistake. The marker is not defined. Here, I did not load the markers from the attributes on the front end, so we load them by selecting our block. Here is our 0 marker, and I enable it, save it, and refresh on the main page. So our main block no longer has a margin because they are updated thanks to this. Construction.